My name's Anne Campbell. My husband Donald and I have 6 children, ranging in age down from 18 to 4. John is our 3rd child and he's now 10, and he has albinism and nystagmus. Initially, both my husband and I felt quite shocked and surprised. It's always a surprise when you find out that there's something not quite right with your child, and you want that when you love your children, you want them everything to be fine and everything to be perfect. Because he was in school, from early on we had a lot of support from the Visual Impairment Service. He was the youngest in his class. The reception year was wonderful because there's lots of toys, lots of games, which was just the level that he was at really. When he went up into year 1, he was obviously only just 5, and all of a sudden, you know, half the toys have disappeared, and it's much more structured, much more about, you know, getting out the pen and starting to learn to read and write, and he just really wasn't ready for it, and he started to show signs very, very quickly that he wasn't coping. And my husband and I felt we had no choice really but to take him out, and we decided to home educate him. I realised very quickly that it wasn't going to be, teaching him to read was not going to be a very quick process. It's difficult to know how their vision is going to actually be when they're older, because they are still young. But I knew just from observing him what sort of pictures he could see in books, how clearly he could see things, and I'd recognised some of the things that he was missing. So I sort of had a good idea of what he could see, but of course at that point he wasn't so much able to read those books himself because he couldn't read, but it was still a starter for me to start reading them to him and for him to be able to follow. It was so slow, it was so hard to get him to even look initially at anything to do with letters, anything to do with sounds, that I made some cards to accompany the sounds, and it's just something tactile that he could touch. As soon as he could start touching things, it seemed to jog something in his mind. 2 years ago, for his birthday, he was given Spy Dog.
And there's a really funny bit in here.
And he read that book in one day, and that was the first time he'd ever picked up a book himself and read it cover to cover and laughed a lot of the way through it. I think it was just so funny. He just enjoyed it so much, and he wanted immediately then to get the rest of the series from the library. We don't have any large print books in the local library at all. We try to get it in large print first. If we can't, it's then down to maybe getting the smaller print book and using magnification to read it.
The world had been at war for 3 years, so 5 million.
No, read it again. Don't go too fast.
Of 15 million.
Yeah. We do have a CCTV magnifier, which enlarges anything that's just a bit too small for him to see. Those are very, very expensive, but we did manage to get funding for that. If you have to slide books under a magnifier or slide a magnifier across a page, that's almost another skill in itself that can detract a little bit from the enjoyment. So it's just trying to make it as easy as possible, and not have to use the magnification unless you absolutely need to. I would say John has read more books in the last year than his 18-year-old brother has read in his entire life, and every night for hours he's reading in bed, and so he's totally turned a corner. And he can read just about anything. You're right, John. Mm-hmm. If somebody is concerned about their child, a child with a visual impairment, learning to read, I would say to relax and take it very, very slowly, and take it a letter sound at a time. And I would say don't put any pressure on them, because the goal is not to teach your child to read. The goal is that you would have a child that loves reading and is passionate about reading and loves books.